Now we get to probably what could be the biggest game of the year for SC if they do have a very good record going into this, because it's Oregon. And it's not just Oregon, it's Oregon on the road late in the year.
Yeah, look, I don't want, as I mentioned, I'm kind of cynical about USC football. I'm cynical about USC sports in general. I grew up a Ducks fan. All my friends go to Oregon, and I just think they lost a lot of people. I still think that they're going to beat USC pretty decently in this game.
Yeah, and before I talk about Oregon, I want to bring up this comment here because we don't know. Like, we just don't know. Like, arguably the running back situation this year, I mean, we just don't know, like, with Waymon Jordan, how good he is, first of all. But we also don't know, like, if Riley, with less receiving depth, we'll say, is going to change his philosophy from throwing the ball, 50 times a game to maybe limiting that to 35 and running the ball quite a bit more. So I don't know. I think it's a good point to be brought up, but I think it is something that is unpredictable. I think he's going to throw the ball a lot. I think Jacoby Lane is going to have more of a red zone. Last year, he was really just playing in the red zone. I think we're going to see him step up and be more of a deep threat really anywhere. And of course, Mekhi Lemon's a guy you can throw to at any part of the field.
Yeah.
Prince Strachan as well. Like, I think he's going to want to be like the Deuce Robinson of this team, find open space, be a good route runner. So I don't know. But back to Oregon for a moment. We talked about USC's D-line being good. Oregon's D-line is very, very good. Mateo Uigalele,
Uigalele.
Whatever you just said, yeah. It's couldn't say DJ well either. For Oregon State, but yeah, I mean their pass rush is very good, probably the best in the country. Dante Moore is the wild card because, like you said, he was rushed into a hybrid starting role at UCLA, and then that didn't work out. He was an unopened can, kind of. He still is, threw a lot of interceptions at UCLA. Their offense changed. We talked about it here on the screen. Like, they have roster departures. They're still elite. I mean, their receiving room, you have Evan Stewart. Yeah, you got Gary Bryant Jr., DeCorian Moore, true freshman, Justice Lowe. I mean, like, so it's a good group.
Yeah, look, they also brought, you didn't mention Mekhi Singleton, the Tulane running back transfer. He was fantastic for the Green Wave last year. As you mentioned, it is Dante Moore. That is the question mark. Will he perform? Because obviously Dylan Gabriel, 2 years of Bo Nix, both very solid, good quarterbacks. I don't know if you can get that from Moore. Obviously, he's sat a year behind Gabriel now. He's learned, and he totally could be a Heisman title contending quarterback. There were flashes at UCLA. There were. You can't expect that from him, though. You don't know what you're going to get. As you mentioned, he's an unopened can.
And I think, too, not to, judge him based on other people, but that recruiting class for quarterbacks 2023, it's not shaping out to looking so good. And we'll talk about Nico in a moment. But, I mean, Malachi Nelson, ST fans know. It's very 50-50. And I'm not going to judge one guy based on his peers in his class. But it goes to show that he was recruited very highly along other guys who, like a guy like Malachi Nelson, who's not even in the Power 4 anymore. It's something to think about. It's food for thought. Emmanuel Pregnon, we didn't talk about him yet. He's going to be, of course, suiting up for Oregon. So I think SC would
have been one of the best O-line in the country.
Yeah. No, it's going to be tough. And when we talk about D-line, like SC's D-line is going to clash against the Oregon O-line. But the thing that looks tough for me is the fact that we haven't really talked about USC's O-line much yet. Of course, a very vulnerable spot last year. They're probably going to be better than last year, just based on who they brought in. They brought in John Ray Reed, who's very likely the starter at center. And then, of course, DJ Wingfield. Elijah Page is a big question mark, though. Alani Noah also. I really like Tobias Raymond, but the rest of the team, we just don't know how they're going to gel. And especially that late in the year, this is the 11th game for USC. We don't really know, how depleted they're going to be with injuries at that point either. So,
yeah, I don't know. The offensive line, it obviously wasn't fantastic last year. I don't know if you can say it's going to be better. Obviously, you lost, like you mentioned, Pregnon to Oregon. If Pregnon were to be here, I think I would definitively say it's going to be a lot better than last year. But
Really? You think that, like, I mean, you lose Monheim, but like Jean-Ray Reed had a really good year at Syracuse. I'm not saying he's equal to Monheim.
But what I'm saying, if you brought in those guys with Pregnon, if Pregnon had stayed, as he said he was staying, and then 2 weeks later he entered the transfer portal. So
I agree. I mean, I think, but like he's one guy. Like, you know, like that's
he's second team all Big Ten.
I know, but like it's tough to predict because we're talking about the depth chart for the O-line, and like there could be injuries. You know, like we don't that is hard to talk about, especially at this point in the year. Whereas, you know, especially against a team like Oregon on the road, that, you know,
look, it's Oregon on the road in late November. It's a very tough place to play. That's just the reality. USC hasn't won there in a decade, is it? Something like that. It's something a long time. They definitely, when I was a fan of them, I was a huge Oregon fan for first 18 years of my life, and did not witness a lot of USC beating Oregon when I was a fan. So, that's just reality.
I mean, I think Oregon wins this football game, and I know there's people in the chat that would disagree. But again, it's the same thing. It's like I don't think history matters on a micro level, game to game. But this is an Oregon team that is coming off one of the best seasons in their history. I know they got embarrassed in the Rose Bowl.
It's tough draw to go to Ohio State there.
Yeah, it's tough. And they lost a lot of guys. Like, no denying that. They lost Tez Johnson. They lost Terrence Ferguson. They're losing Jordan James, Dylan Gabriel, Josh Connerly, Trayshawn Holden. You know, list goes on. That's only on offense. Like, there's guys on defense they lost as well. But they brought in the pieces that I think will be good enough for them to, again, make another Big Ten push. And that also relies on, like you mentioned, Dante Moore. Like, all that could go to waste if Dante Moore isn't good.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying right now is if Dante Moore is serviceable, this Oregon team will be very, very good. If he is just serviceable, because they have the pieces around him. They have the offensive line. They have the receivers. They probably have the best receiving core in the Big Ten. Hands down.
Are we discrediting Ohio State? I feel like you can't not put Ohio State in there.
You're right. Second. I'll say second. I forgot about Ohio State. Touche.
Yeah.
But
I need to address something real quick, Casey. I am not an Oregon fan. I am from Portland. I go to USC. Casey and I both go to USC. I am not a Ducks fan anymore. All my friends go there. I'm not a fan of them. They have beaten us when I went up there I was wearing my Caleb Williams jersey in the student section in Oregon. That is that I got things thrown at me and things yelled at me. I am a USC fan. Let me make that very clear.
Yeah, and look, I mean, like, Oregon receiving depth is very good. Like, I know people are talking in the chat. Like, Evan Stewart, Gary Bryant Jr., former Trojan. You know,
Corey Moore, the number one wide receiver. You can't not act like Oregon has a good wide receiver core. It's just not. You can't not say that.
Yeah, and like
but you can't not say that it's a great receiving core.
I think it's second in the Big Ten. I agree. I completely forgot about Ohio State for some reason, but I mean, we mentioned earlier, they're not it's not a conference that's very receiver centric. We'll say. I mean, of course you have Jeremiah Smith, but like he's kind of an anomaly. But you also have, like, for Oregon, they brought in Malik Benson. They brought in, they have Jeremiah McClellan. Like, even the guys on the bench are good. So I don't know. There's a lot of Oregon haters in here. I'm proud to say I was never
a lot more confident in USC beating Oregon in Eugene than we are. And I hope it comes true, but it's just not realistic. Like, I hate to be that guy. As I mentioned, I'm cynical about this. It's just not realistic.
I think it can happen, but I think you're going to have to rely on a lot of things going right. You're going to have to really just hope you can get to Dante Moore. Like, if you can get to Dante Moore, I think SC wins this game.
Like, also, I think, shut down the run too, because that's always been Oregon's bread and butter.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the run game's going to look different this year. With Jordan James gone, they have Mekhi Hughes, who's supposed to be pretty good.
Very good.
just a little bit good.
Really good year at Tulane.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we addressed this. Like,
We already talked about this.
We don't think that like Dante Moore has proven himself.
It's 2 years ago. What he was 2 years ago, it's a different person. That's all.
Yeah. But so we'll see.